Now, as we continue to shed light on lawlessness in the country, firearm law expert Martin Hood blames police for the continuous criminal activities involving guns in the country. He says the current and previous police ministers and commissioners have failed to protect South Africans. Hood says a dysfunctional central firearms registry cannot properly administrate the distribution of legal guns.
Police ministers and successive national commissioners have failed in their duty to protect South Africans. The Firearms Control Act, when it went through the parliamentary process, was touted as a key element of crime prevention and crime control in South Africa, and it has dismally failed. And I want to emphasize that law-abiding firearm owners have done everything within their power to try and comply with the requirements of the Firearms Control Act, but it's very difficult to comply when the administration has broken down. And I also want to emphasize that with the tavern shooting in Soweto, I believe that approximately 130 AK-47 cases were picked up at the scene. Those are not firearms that are generally available to civilians. They're what's called a restricted firearm, and it's very difficult for a civilian to get a license for such a firearm. So we have to ask ourselves the question, where do these firearms come from? Have the police failed to remove firearms that go back before 1994 from the hands of criminals? And then we also have to bear in mind as well that the South African police themselves were instrumental in losing anything between 2,500 and 10,000 firearms through Colonel Chris Prinsloo, who sold those firearms into the Cape Flats. And I can also tell you that I'm personally involved in 2 investigations where amnesty firearms, a large number of amnesty firearms, have been stolen from police custody. So we have a fundamental problem that revolves around the conduct of the police themselves.
Have a problem regarding the conduct of the police themselves regarding these guns. Let's discuss this matter further now with our resident crime analyst here at eNCA, Yusuf Abramjee. Salam, Yusuf, welcome to today. Thank you very much for your time. I know you're quite a busy man, but when you listen to Martin Hood, for example, and you hear Heidi Jokos, my colleague now on the ground in Soweto, saying, according to the police there, who are reporting to the media about what happened last weekend, where 16 people have now died after that mass shooting, that the caliber of guns and the ammunition is not what you'd find normally in circulation. You begin to wonder, where is the gap? Where is this loophole that allows criminals to access such weapons?
Thank you, Braden. Let's first of all say we have tens of thousands of illegal weapons in South Africa. I'm not talking of handguns only. I'm talking of AK-47s, we're talking of R4 rifles, R5 rifles commonly used by the South African National Defence Force and the police. Take the Soweto incident. 130 cartridges, spent cartridges, were found at the scene. That shows you then how violent and how brazen these criminals have become. Take the incident in Mamelodi at a cafe or a tavern where one person was killed. The shooting was also videoed, and we're showing it on Crime Watch on Sunday, where these people are brazen. They open fire in front of hundreds of people, and the same happened in Pietermaritzburg. Now, when we listen to the experts and they say, let's blame the police, I agree. The blame squarely lies at the door of the police, but how often don't we blame the criminals and these people that are running amok? We hear Heidi talking, the community correctly saying that police are not responding. And I've said it and I will repeat it again. The police in South Africa very often are not proactive. We are reactive. So when we have tavern killings, the Minister of Police, the Commissioner runs there, they make a big noise with the MEC for community safety, and what happens after a day or 2 or 3, it dies down. It's very seasonal. So tavern shootings now are in the news, similar to what we are seeing the mass shootings in America. At one stage, we saw cash-in-transit robberies on the increase, then kidnappings on the increase. So we're having a variety of these crimes, and these criminals are simply, it's a free-for-all.
Yusuf, the issue of a registry of arms just takes me back to what happened at the Norwood police station. You know, our former colleague here, Barry Bateman, covered that for eNCA quite a bit the last few months. And it's about, and then I think the station commander was suspended. Here, the police have captured illegal weapons. They're supposed to lock them up and get rid of them, but they end up in the hands of criminals.
Then every quarter they destroy tens of thousands of weapons. When you have an amnesty and you ask members of the public to hand in your illegal gun, very often the people tell me, but why should I be handing it in? Because it might end up and probably will end up in the hands of criminals. The other day in Johannesburg, 4 criminals were arrested. And you know what were they doing then? They were hiring out illegal guns to criminal syndicates. So what you do is you go to the syndicate, you pay an X amount, probably 1,000 rand. They give you the gun and ammunition. You go there and do whatever you want to do, whether you want to commit a CIT robbery or a tavern shooting. You bring the gun back, and then they give you your deposit back, and that is their business. It just shows you how a big problem we are facing. But when you talk of firearms, Dan, it must be said that corruption is a big problem. These gangs that are getting the guns often get it from the police, and that is a problem. What we saw in Norwood is only the tip of the iceberg.
Proliferation of illegal guns is therefore a big headache and a risk for this country's stability. Is that a correct statement to make?
Most certainly. Now, we know the AK-47s historically come in from Mozambique. We know in the pre-democracy era, a lot of these firearms were coming in. The borders are not being adequately controlled. There's a viral video that shows you how firearms, including AK-47s, are being hidden in bags of, I think it was salt or sand, so that they can be easily smuggled through. There are hundreds and thousands of these firearms in circulation. No wonder these guns are ending up in the wrong hands, and there's very little control.
Is it a lost battle from your perspective, from what you hear in this aspect as you are an activist against crime?
Then I wish I could say that we're going to be winning this war. From what we are seeing, the police have little control. I'm worried that the levels of violence is becoming more and more. On Crime Watch last week, we showed the first of a 2-part series on cash-in-transit robberies. This week, we are showing how brazen and how more violent these gangs are becoming. They're not even hesitating now to open fire on the security guards and kill them, forget members of the public. I hope we're going to win this war, but from the current status and what we are looking at, I think we're going to see an escalation in the violence, which is a worrying element.
Unless there's a prioritization and a focus on it. Just remind our viewers here on Today, this hour, what time is Crime Watch on
Crime
Sundays?
Watch feature every Sunday evening at 7:30 with Heidi Jokkers, our anchor.
Right here on DSTV Channel 403. Thank you very much, Yusuf Abramjee. He's our resident crime analyst here on eNCA.